During this caution break, Chase Elliott would lose the race off pit road and drop 4 spots because of a topic of discussion I would like to get into a little bit here, Kyle.
Here we go.
Chase Elliott's jackman, TJ Semke, was claimed to jump over the wall too soon, a penalty that we haven't seen as much over the past season or two, but it was very prominent in the previous seasons where the jackman would come over to the wall a little bit too soon before the car was within 1 pit stall of getting to their pit stall. And TJ Semke knew the rule book, and he jumped over the wall too soon. He knew it, and then he went back to the wall and kind of springed off of it and then went back and serviced the car. So that's why Chase Elliott lost those spots. NASCAR gave him a penalty initially for the jumping over the wall too soon, but then rescinded that penalty after reviewing the incident. And I would love to get into this a little bit here, Kyle, because I didn't know that. First off, I didn't know this was a rule where you could reset yourself to go back.
Neither did I.
And I don't think many people did. And this is the second time, in my opinion, Chase Elliott has gotten away with a little bit of stuff in these playoffs, thinking back to Kansas with the radio incidents. So I would love to get into this a little bit because I think you have a different opinion than I do on this one. But I love to get your thoughts here first.
It's just rare. We don't
usually do share the same
much.
opinion. Yeah. But Kyle, you definitely have a little bit of explanation to kind of give me here to maybe sway my opinion before I get my take. But I know that you think this was an MVP caliber move by the jackman TJ Semke.
Yeah, and really, regardless as to your thought as to whether it was legal or not, at the end of the day, NASCAR did decide that it was legal, him resetting it, and in turn, that caused them to go from starting 21st or 22nd to starting 5th, I believe it was, on that restart. Because
I guess it would be 5th.
Yeah, 4th out, and then LaJoie was up front there, which was funny. So yeah, that saved their season. Full stop. If he's starting 22nd or 21st there, they are not winning that race if it plays out the exact same whatsoever. But instead, he resets, and they stay up front. They get the lead eventually, and they go out and win the race. Bob Pockris tweeted out the actual rule book, the actual rule, and this is what it says. And this is basically where I'm coming from here. And you can debate whether the rule is written properly or not, but this is what it actually says.
If it was even
Quote,
a thing before the Chase Elliott thing, but no, I'm just kidding.
Quote, crew members' feet and or pit equipment must not touch the pit road surface before the vehicle is 1 pit box away from its assigned pit box or the equivalent marked distance. Makes sense.
Of course.
That's the rule that everybody knows. That's the rule that he broke originally. It goes on to say, quote, should a crew member's feet prematurely touch the pit road surface prior to servicing the vehicle, said crew member or members can reestablish their position back to or behind service wall prior to servicing the vehicle, to avoid a penalty. The way that the rule is written, it says that all you need to do is go back to the wall, which Semke did, before he serviced the vehicle, which he did. To me, this is pretty clear. This is not a penalty to me because he went back, he reset based off of the way that the rule is written, and they did not gain anything from him going over the wall too early. In fact, him going back and resetting cost them positions. It was another slow stop. They came off. They lost position. At the end of the day, I see it as something legal, and I like this rule. You can debate whether you like the rule, whether the way it's written, all this kind of stuff. But to me, this is a legal move, and it's one that saved their season.
I don't think he reset his position, though. That is my thing about it. I don't think he reset his position.
He went back and got to the wall, though.
Resetting position to me is when you have 2 feet on the wall where you initially start, which is your starting position, right? So he's starting on the wall with 2 feet on it, right? So then he goes and springs off of the wall with 1 foot while half of his body is still in the pit stall. That's not resetting his position to me, in my opinion. I don't think that he did enough to justify that not being a penalty. Great on him for thinking about it to even know the rule in the first place, but I don't think that's a total reset of his initial position. I don't know. There's not really much I can really add to that. It's just my opinion. I don't know if many other people feel that way, but I just think he got away with a little bit there where it didn't cost him too much in the end. Obviously, Chase Elliott lost a couple of spots because of the having to go back and everything and service the car. But at the end of the day, when you look at his starting position where you start on the wall and then you take that one big step off of the wall, I don't think he reset his position enough to justify that as resetting his position as written in the rule book. So that's where I stand on it. I think Chase Elliott's penalty should have still been given to him. I don't think it should have been rescinded, but that's just me. I mean, even if it's Kyle or anybody else, I still think he didn't reset his position enough to justify him not getting a penalty there. But I don't know. Do you think he did? I'm just curious.
To me, a penalty should be given out because of two reasons. One, you gained from something that is against the rule book, or it's something that endangers somebody. And in this situation, the rule is written so that, one, crew members aren't over too early so that they could potentially be hit by cars going by, but also so that you can't be out there right away and then service the car quickly. In this case, he jumped over too early, went back before any cars were by, so it wasn't a safety issue, and they lost time on pit road anyway, so they didn't gain anything. To me, that doesn't deserve a penalty then. You can debate whether he reset it properly or not, sure, but to me, he went back to the wall. As the rule is written, it doesn't say anything about 2 feet or anything. The way the rule is written in the rule book is that all it says is get back to the wall or behind the service wall. That's exactly what he did, in my opinion, there. So I think that it's a great, savvy move from TJ Semke that saved them the season, and in fact, put them along the season, because if Elliott isn't starting fifth there, they're not winning the race and not battling for a championship in less than a week's time.
Man, I just disagree. I don't know. The key word in that rule is reset, right? Like, I feel like you have to go back to your initial spot. That's what reset really means, right? Like, I know it doesn't specifically say that, but resetting goes from when you restart a video game, you go to the initial part of the action. You don't just kind of
that's restart, not reset.
Reset is the same thing as restart. Isn't it?
If I reset to the track in F1 2020, I'm just going back to the middle of the track. I'm not starting back at the finish line.
Yeah, but reset is the place where you left, correct?
Yeah, right? And he went back to the place he left.
Yeah, but he didn't go to the full extent where he left. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't on top of the wall. That's a reset. Bouncing off of it just like a kangaroo does not count as resetting to me. I don't know.
To me, it does.
That's just my opinion. I think it's totally up for judgment on how you want to view it.
For the way that the rule is written, I think he did enough. If you want him to reset his position further, I think that you just simply have to make it so that they're back behind the wall. Maybe that's the way that you rewrite the rule in the offseason or something. If you didn't like the way.
They don't start behind the wall necessarily when they start their pit stop, though, right?
But then that would be the only way to clearly say that he's reset his position. I don't think that.
You could just say 2 feet on the wall, too. I think that's probably a reset. That's where he started.
I feel like that might end up being more dangerous to the crew members then.
I feel like it's entirely dangerous in itself that he's able to reset his position. I feel like that just causes more danger because he's run out, then he has to run back, and a car's coming at him that's probably not that far away, and he's carrying, what, a 80-pound jack, whatever it is, 50-pound jack, whatever it is, and he's carrying that, lugging it around, jumping off of walls, going over to service the car, and then having to run back. I think that in itself is a little bit unsafe, in my opinion, when you look at the other rules that they have in place for safety. I don't think he should be able to go in front of the car, then go back, and then come back, and then he has to go around the car kind of thing. I think that's even more unsafe in my opinion, but
and maybe that is what you go down and you don't allow those resets. But if you do allow the resets and you do allow them to get back there, I'm perfectly fine with what he did there. And I perfectly understand where you're coming from. I just feel like he did enough in that situation, and that's exactly what you would want based off of the way that the rule is written for that exactly to go down. If somebody either accidentally falls off the wall before and they reset their position, or if they jump over too quickly and get back, I think that's exactly the way that you would want it to play out if somebody goes over too soon. You don't lose enormous amounts of time, but you do lose some time, and you don't get penalized afterwards because he did reset his position, in my opinion. So I applaud TJ Semke, because at the end of the day, regardless as to what either of us think as to whether he did reset or not, NASCAR's the one that their decision's the one that matters, and they decided to side with TJ Semke on that one and save their season. So I'm actually on NASCAR's side of this, which is a rare occurrence when it comes to rules being enforced and whatnot. But based off it, I just have to go off of the way that the rule is written, and for me, they basically did it as good as you could have hoped for based off the way that the rule is written.
I can understand why they made the call that they did. You know, it's not like it's foreign to me why they would make that call. It's
at the very.
I think it's just up for a debate in how you want to view it. Like, I think there's definitely people that see it the way I'm seeing it, where he didn't reset, and then there's definitely probably the majority where they feel like he did reset because probably they're Chase Elliott fans because they don't want to see him lose that track position. But B, in itself, I think he probably did enough in some cases. It's just I don't know if he entirely did enough for me to justify that he reset his position. I think that's just the thing that it's really bothering me about it, where they say reset. I think resetting is where you start from your initial start point and you go back on top of the wall 2 feet. If he had done that, I've got no problem with him doing what he did, but I feel like he was just too quick on how he did it. But that's just me, but it's definitely up to interpretation on how you want to view it.
Yeah, I think the final thing here is NASCAR set a precedent, and we kind of talked about it at Talladega with all the chaos that was.
Jesus,
all we
bring
care
that
about
back up.
is consistency with the calls. And if this is the precedent that they've set, if this happens at Phoenix and somebody jumps over too
this
early,
is crazy. That's even in the rule book. Like, I can't believe that's a rule.
You need to call it the exact same way here, because if you don't call it the same way, then the Chase Elliott bias or whatever, then I'll hear a legitimate argument for that. Just as the same as I think that's probably a fair case to make back with the radio issues that he had. I think, if he's – maybe it's a playoff bias
pretty
thing.
Lucky. He's had a good run of 8. I'll say that. Like,
he's had a nice little run. But at least for this one, I'm on the side of NASCAR. But I will completely switch back over if the next time that something like this happens, they call against the pit crew member. If they do a very similar thing where they jump over too early, recognize it, go back, kick off, and they still give them the penalty, then my opinion will change. But it remains to be seen if that happens. And if it does, I will gladly clip up this clip, go back, and prove myself wrong. But as we stand here today, as we sit here today.
If we stand, we're screwed for this show.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on the side of NASCAR.
All right. I respect your opinion.
I respect yours as well.
Thank you. I think there's definitely an argument to be heard on both sides. Yeah. And ultimately, Chase Elliott
definitely not black or white.
No, it's definitely not. There's definitely a little bit of a gray in the middle there in that gradient kind of thing on Photoshop. I think there's definitely a little bit of room for a decision there. But they decided to go with the Jackman himself and TJ Semke, and this was probably a race-saving move. Not race-winning, but race-saving move for that entire number 9 team. So I'm glad we had that discussion. I've been wanting to talk about that for about
me too.
Now, I guess. But it's going to be fun to see in the future if this does come back to haunt you here with the Halloween spirit.
Honestly, it probably will, because knowing NASCAR and the rule calls, they are anything but consistent.
I'm just I can't believe that that's even a rule in the first place. Just to finish that off,
surprised as well.
I can't believe 2 things. I can't believe it's a rule, and 2, that he knew the rule. That it's that he remembered that in the adrenaline rush that he's going through. He's like, oh yeah, I just got to go back to the wall and reset my position, in quote unquote, and then go back and service the car. And he ends up staying in the top 5 at the end of things there with Chase Elliott. So